Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty.
I tell you, we've been noticing this since the lockdowns. People just fleeing both New York and California. In fact, can we get the visual up there? It's funny. Kurt Russell's a libertarian. He kind of prophesized this, I guess, with his movies. New York is a walled maximum security prison. Breaking out is impossible. Breaking in is insane. And we're seeing
that's my campaign slogan.
Well, and like I said, California isn't spared. You know, the U-Haul trucks only go in one direction. That's where you can see their license plate and heading away.
We actually had a problem here in New York State to where there weren't enough U-Haul trucks and people were actually having to rent them from Pennsylvania. So it was actually cheaper to go to Pennsylvania, rent the truck, and then drive it to New York to drive down to Florida.
Wow.
Yes, and they had a second problem, which was there weren't enough U-Haul trucks coming back from Florida. So they had to raise the rate so they could pay to bring the U-Haul trucks back to New York from Florida because enough weren't coming back. Wow. That's a real thing. I'm not making that up. That's a real thing. Yes.
So California and New York politics, great for business for U-Haul.
U-Haul's like, go Hochul, go Hochul, go. They're loving it. They're loving it.
Would be interesting to see if she's getting some funds under the table from U-Haul.
If I was in the market, I'd be all about her. I'd be buying ads, the whole thing. Absolutely, 100%. I'd be buying ads, making a killing. Absolutely.
Well, but is this still an issue, Larry? I mean, we've been hearing about it for the last couple of years.
It's been an issue since 2009 or 10, right? After the crash of 2008 and 9, what most people don't know is that's when things got really bad the first time. And the reason is, after that crash, there was really no recovery except inside the cities. Outside the cities, there was no recovery. So they still haven't recovered from 2009, right? They're still broken. So when that happened, people rushed back to cities because I think 80% of all new jobs since the crash were in 20 U.S. cities. That is how much it was just stuck to come into the city. So people rushed to the cities because of that. And because of that, the outskirts were just devastated, right? Just devastated. People weren't showing up. You look in many of these communities, and there's always one big thing that runs. Like there's a big Walmart or a college or a prison or something big that most people work for. And then everything else is either they're somehow getting a government check in some way, disabled, Social Security, public assistance, or they work for a franchise, some type of franchise association in some way, shape, or form, right? Whether it's a fast food place or a franchise lube shop or something like that, they work for a franchise. So it's government, franchise, the big thing. That's how so many happen. So that's why so many states had trouble, because you had to go to places where they would give you opportunity. New York State used to be a place that had so much opportunity. You didn't mind the oppression because the opportunity was so great, you put up with it, right? There was so much opportunity, you'd put up with it. But once the opportunity goes away, why do you stay? We've lost about 2 to 2.5 million people since 2010. So much that we've lost a congressperson. And it's just getting worse. In fact, now we're losing about 200,000 to 300,000 people per year now, packing and leaving. And I warned people about this 2 years ago. I said, actually 3 years ago when COVID hit, I said, it's going to get so bad that people are just going to pack up and leave. They're not going to care about rent. They're not going to care about mortgage. They're just going to leave their house and go. And right now, if you go to the New York State government website, you will find a thing called zombie houses. It's that common. The government acknowledges it, that there are houses that they just walked away. Like people go, does everyone live there anymore? They haven't cut the lawn in like 6 weeks. I don't even know. And they go there and like no one's there. They just walked away with a mortgage or with rent. And the lease said, I don't care. Come get me, I guess, because I'm broke. So I'm out of here. I don't care. I guess I'll see you in court. If you can drag me back to New York State, I guess I'll see you in court. But they literally pack up and walk away. That's how bad it is in New York State.
Is this phenomena growing? These zombie houses, is this a growing phenomena in New York right now?
Yes, it is. I warned it. People, I said that when they do the lockdowns, that the lockdowns would exacerbate all the pain in New York State, and it'll be much worse. And I also said that, and I'm on record saying this, New York City will go below 8 million and never come back. It will never come back to 8 million again. And the reason is finance was already leaving New York State. In fact, the biggest lobby in New York State used to be finance. Now it's real estate. So finance is already leaving, because back in the day, some of you who know this, who've been in this world, tech used to follow finance, right?
Yes.
Tech, you know that, Leon, they used to follow
Yes.
finance.
Yes.
Those days are over. Now finance follows tech.
Yeah.
Tech now dominates so much now that finance follows tech. Literally, the New York Stock Exchange threatened to go to Austin. That's how bad it was.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Goldman Sachs threatened to go to Miami. That was the only reason why Cuomo did not do his transaction tax he was going to do. Because if he had done that, they'd have packed him and left.
Well, James, can
So
I get a
it's
visual
bad.
up real quick while Larry's talking? Because this sort of shows that there's a real cost here. I mean, aside from the social turbulence, it says this article from Center Square, New York, says New York loses $19.5 billion in population exodus.
Yep.
And that's from the IRS. So this is nuts.
Yes. and all the people in New York say is tax the wealthy. What wealthy? They're leaving. You can't tax them. They're going to be in Florida. They're going to be in Texas. They're going to be in Tennessee. Those are three big states they're going to. And what's the common denominator in Texas, Florida, and Tennessee? No state income tax.
No.
That's correct. No state income tax. They're all running over like this. No tomorrow. Nashville is booming. Miami is booming. Austin, Dallas. Everyone's going over there. Even San Antonio. They're all running over there as fast as they possibly can. More Californians go to Texas than Florida, and more New Yorkers go to Florida than Texas. But they're going to those two states left and right. And there's a mix to people going to Nashville, Memphis, and Tennessee. But that's what's happening. And you're correct. That's a big problem. And here's the worst part. New York State, its budget now is $220 billion. $220 billion. Only 19 countries and California have a bigger budget than New York State. Florida has more people than we have and has half our budget.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to all 50 states, you might think California spends the most. No, California, we got you beat. New York, take that, California. We're number one when it comes to being terrible. So, yes, we actually, with the exception of Alaska. Now, Alaska's an exception because Alaska literally writes checks to its people from its oil fund, right? The exception of Alaska, we spend the most per person in the country. The most per person. And in every way you want to measure us, we always rank in the bottom 25. Always. When it comes to schools, we rank between 37 and 44, depending upon what you use. We're the highest when it comes to schools. We drop $29,000 per kid per school. So the argument I get all the time is, if you just fund it, we're not underfunded. $220 billion from 180 or 190 when I ran last time. So a $30 billion explosion and population going down and billionaires leaving. This is not a good trend. And if you ask anybody what they're going to do, the Republicans go, this is a Republican answer. More cops. That's his answer. More cops. That's his answer for everything. What's a Democratic answer? More money from the feds. That's it. Democrats want more money for the feds. Republicans want more cops. Neither of them will solve this problem in any way, shape, or form. So everything you said, you are correct.
But Larry, the leaders, the political leaders of
leaders.
They're blind leaders.
Exactly. Leaders. Yeah.
The political leaders of leaders in quotes of the state of New York cannot be blind to what is obvious.
Of course.
You're
right.
Okay.
No, you're right.
Leon, you're right. Are they doing anything at all to stem the tide of this obvious problem?
Not at all. They are grifting while the grifting's good. That's all they are raking in all they can before Rome burns. That's all they're worried about. They're doing nothing of any value whatsoever. You cannot find a policy that makes any sense, if there even is a policy. All they do is just take more money. They are grifting like there's no tomorrow. The Democratic Party has all it does is give out more government jobs. We are making to where New York State is going to be, I'm not even exaggerating when I say this, it's going to be 30% government jobs eventually. That's a socialistic state. That we're already about 1 in 6. We're moving towards 1 in 3. That's the move. Is keep making government jobs. If you count jobs that are not government jobs, but government contracted jobs, we're already about 1 in 5. So we're already going down to that road where government just pays for everything. So it's virtually impossible. Now, the Republicans, all they do is go, this is the year. That's all they ever do. And they yell, they've been yelling, Democrats bad for 20 years. Sadly, suckering all the Republicans, giving them tons of money. They spent $12 million in donor funds this year, and they're going to be beat by at least 15 points. The most recent poll has Republican down by 20. 20 points down.
Wow.
Why? Because the state's a blue state. It's not a purple state. Literally, Cuomo said in 2014, I think, his words, there is no room for conservatives in New York.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes, he said go. And conservatives said, okay, thank you. And they left in droves.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, always and forever.